Good morning, Dojo friends. I am driving to work. It's early in the morning before sunrise, and I wanted to talk to you a moment about the two words that martial art instructor dreads the most. Well, the second two. The first two is I quit, but the second one is we're moving. That's a really hard thing for an instructor to hear when a student is, because of work or circumstances, finances, whatever it might be, going to college, student has to leave the dojo and move away. It's fairly common, and having hundreds of students, I've had a dozen or more move away over the years. After my heart, I pick it up off the floor because it's literally like getting punched in the stomach. It is so painful to hear those words, and I know that the student has spent a lot of time thinking about talking to the sensei about leaving. It bothers them too. It's a disconnection that happens naturally. When I moved from Massachusetts in 1999 to move to Ohio to train, I left my family, I left my friends, I left my girlfriend, I left everybody in order to change my life. I was so compelled to train with my teacher back then that I left everything. I saved up the money, I worked several jobs, and I planned on moving. I rented a U-Haul and attached it to the back and pulled away what little stuff that I had. When I left home, I never looked back. I knew that that was it. I'm going to leave home and I'll never be back. Of course, your friends and family think that you will, but that was 23 years ago now. When you leave your dojo, this is what will happen. It always happens the same, and it rarely changes. You're going to leave. You're going to move away. First of all, on behalf of all the teachers of all martial arts, thank you for telling us, because I've had a couple situations where people have moved and not said anything. They were so afraid of me being mad or disappointed that they just didn't communicate it and they just disappeared. Don't do that. That is not honorable. Always have the respect to tell your teacher and your fellow training partners that you are moving. Celebrate it. We often have parties or gatherings or just a class celebration where someone brings in hors d'oeuvres or something, and we sit and we talk about moving. You want to embrace this act. It's a very big and scary thing, especially for the mover. Here's an analogy. Think of moving. Think of yourself as a small boat, okay? As a student, we are small boats. We're like a dinghy, and the dojo, wherever we train, is a giant ship, okay? We sail or row toward that giant ship. That's our dojo. We eventually find ourselves there, and we tether to it. We connect to that dojo. We become a student of that teacher that we've chosen. Well, when you move away, you untether that. You cut the line. You cut the rope. You row away of your own volition, of your own choice. And then what happens is, as you drift away in your boat across the ocean of life, you go over the horizon, you see that big ship, and you wave goodbye, and it disappears over the horizon. Now you're separated. So you move to your new town, your new city, your new country, and you try to make a living. You try to acclimate and get there and do what you need to do. And you think about your dojo a lot, how you miss the people, you miss the pain, the fun of movement, the learning, the excitement, everything. You miss your teacher. We miss you. Well, what happens over time? You and I know that naturally over life, you drift apart. You may email each other for a while. That's natural. You may call. You may go back home to fill in some loose gaps and see your teacher again, give them one last hug. But eventually we know that life fills that in and your connection breaks. What happens is sometimes students who leave expect the teacher to stay connected. They expect the teacher to call them, to ask how they're doing, to continue to teach and instruct and be their mentor, their guide. This is not realistic. If you move away from the dojo and I have 150 other active students, I have to take my time for them because they have chosen to be here. It's never like your teacher is mad ever. Your teacher's not going to be mad if you leave with dignity. Your teacher's sad, your teacher's disappointed, but not angry. But what happens is, again, students think that the teacher has to be responsible. I've had a few students, it's rare, that have said, why aren't you emailing me? Why aren't you paying attention to me anymore? And it's no disrespect, it's just that you've moved. You have cut that tie. Again, going back to the boat. If I'm in a little rowboat and I row away, I can't expect the giant ship, which is the dojo, to turn around and pay attention to me and come and get me and rescue me when the waters get rough or a shark appears. That giant ship has its own course. It is sailing on a destination. And we have chosen to move away. It is not the boat's responsibility to go back to the dinghy. And as a teacher, we move on. As you are expected to move on as a student, we send you away with love and our blessing. We want you to succeed in your new endeavor. We would love it even more if you would come back. But if your job pulls you away from your dojo, it's just part of life. It happens. There's no anger, just sadness. There's a void between us and the students. And there's a natural void when you leave, when you untether yourself, when you untie yourself from your dojo. You have to just face it. That's life. You're going to move on. You will eventually lose contact. That happens all of the time. I have students from 15, 20 years ago that I don't hear from anymore because they've moved and they have moved on with life. Life is about moving. I just moved however many miles from my home to the dojo. If nobody moved, we would all literally be on top of each other. People have to migrate. They have to move. When you least expect it, you're going to get a phone call. Your boss is going to say, look, you have to move to Texas tomorrow or we're going to shut down your job. Well, if you have a family, responsibilities, a wife, children, you have to go. It's money. Or you're at the age, I've had so many students that have moved from high school to college, and I love and miss all of them. But it's a part of life. A new chapter opens. So in short, when you move, if you move away from your dojo, it's sad, it's heartbreaking. It's something that happens. Move on, cut the tie, stay appreciative of our teachers, which I do. I'm still in contact with all of my teachers that are still alive, even 30 years later after leaving them. It is my responsibility as a student to stay in contact with my teacher, to wish them well, to do whatever they need to do, to visit when I can, to go to their seminars, to take the time to stay tied together. It is not the teacher's job to stay tied with the students because there are so many others that want the teacher's time. They're paying money, they have moved here, they have relocated, they take the time out of their precious time of the day to be at the dojo with that teacher and stay connected. Moving is a part of life, but we all know we have to move on. You will lose connection. It is just natural. And just hold each other's memory as best you can in your heart. Thank you for watching, everybody. Have a great day or night wherever you live. Bye-bye.